Hello and welcome to another modelling video. This is Alan from the Mokono Man at YouTube with another model test review. We're at Animasia again today, looking at Mr. Colour Flat Base, but particularly making a clear flat in large batches. This video works in conjunction with the super cheap auto generic budget gloss clear, utilising a industrial or automotive clear for model applications. What we'll be trying our best to do is make a large batch or very cheap matte clear. Please check out the previous video first. Flat Base is a paint additive utilised by multiple brands including Gunze, Mr. Hobby and Tamiya, across acrylic, enamel and lacquers. A lot of people confuse it with clear matte, where they add it to an airbrush, spray and find their model completely frost over. There's also a lot of confusion and not a lot of resources, at least in the English speaking sphere, on what it's exactly used for and how to use it. Flat Base is a very dense matting agent or matting pigment in paint form. What you're meant to do is, if you're applying a colour and it's gloss and you need it to be in matte, you add a very small amount of this into the paint mix or your airbrush pot. We're talking about the realm of 1:4 to 1:6 ratio for a dead matte according to fine scale modeler forums, and up to 1:10 stated on some YouTube videos. Now, Tamiya is the popular choice, something I used to use, though I find it lightens the colour and just the wrong ratio mix or any sort of contaminant will make it frost or get speckles. Lacquer is far more forgiving as long as it doesn't mix with other solvents when wet. I'm going to be mixing this with a large batch of gloss clear from the super cheap auto video, and we'll do some tests on spoons. And before we get straight into it, this is very old and it's dried into a hockey puck. So we'll bring it back to life with some Mr. Colour leveling thinner, and if it gets to a good consistency, we are going to roll with it. Let's hope this dissolves overnight. We've got these plastic spoons. It's been a bit of time has passed. They've dried well but scratched up sufficiently. We will add about 2 ml of the matting agent to a large proportion of clear, 30 ml. This 25-30 ml has been heavily diluted, and it was originally 10 ml of straight gloss clear. This is 2 ml of straight matting agent. 2 to 2.5 will work. Let's mix it and test it. That's about 3-4 ml at the very bottom, which is about how thick pigment is in these SMS bottles when they separate. So I think we've got a really good ratio going. We'll chuck a ball bearing in. In comparison, not as solid. We'll add another 2 ml all the way up to 4 ml. Transparency has been efficiently cut. Put it through an airbrush and see if there's any tinge of gloss left. Add the mix directly to our airbrush. And we'll do a test spray. We'll let that mat up a bit. We have achieved a wonderful eggshell heavy satin finish with the slightest sheen. Not quite a dead matte. I would imagine you would pretty much have to use the 10 ml of matting to 10 ml of gloss, or just over thin the matting. Let's try that next. So this is about 1 part matting to 5 part thinner, and it's matted absolutely beautifully. So if we go a quarter matting to an absolute perfect eggshell to satin agent. So having a bit of a mix, you can achieve a whole variety of finishes very playfully and save quite a bit of money than just by buying pre-mixed or small 10ml jars of plain flat clear. Flat base is the way of stretching out and going much further in your hobby. As the additives are all different, this is quite slow to dry. The whole spoon is painted with the satin mix and the tips with the matting mix. From what I've seen after using speed drying, it does eventually frost up. We'll leave it for a bit of time and see what will happen. I've coloured the whole spoons in the satin, and then I painted the tip quite heavily with the base. They were very slow to dry, more than an hour, most likely because all the additives from the base is removed. A fresh bottle will dry a lot quicker. And initially in an inspection, 2/3 has the slightest eggshell sheen. It's not even glossy, it's just gives something, and the tip is just absolutely dead flat. So we look at the metallic. It's not a gloss sheen, but you can actually see the pigments shimmer, and then the tip, it's just nothing. It's practically dead. However, there is no frosting. There is a few splotches, but that's because the spoon's paint got damaged, and we can see it carry on. Now black is where it gets most interesting. You can see that there's just the slightest bit of natural sheen. You would not even call that semi-gloss. I think I put way too much. About 2 to 3 ml would have made a lovely semi-gloss. This is like eggshell or more matte. So that gives quite an interesting and nice finish. And the tip, even though it's lightened by an absolute tiny degree, there is no frosting, there's nothing really. It's not like the Tamiya or acrylics mattes where it's going to get speckles or it's going to dramatically lighten up or anything. We're still retaining the same colour. So very, very impressed. You can be very flexible to the point where you're just thinning it straight. But I think if you go for a half-half mix or a 1/3 mix of gloss, you're going to get some lovely, lovely results. I'm going to do some more testing to see how I can stretch it out among some clear gloss and just have a ton of flat clear to play with and paint, and just save some money when I'm doing my top coats and whatnot, and also be a bit playful in more subtle differences in sheens and not just having your dead flat and your super wet look gloss. This has been a lot of fun to play with. Definitely haven't mastered it at this point, especially playing with an old body, but I think lacquers is the way to go. The acrylic stuff can have some issues and problems. Again, don't worry about the white. That was a masking error and playing around. That's just the paint lifting up, no primer underneath. We're just looking at the finish of the colour of the spoon. Thank you very much for watching. As always, until next time, stay tuned for further content. We'll definitely catch you guys later.